Hello, welcome to Mr. Foy's Easel. Some time ago I talked about the various uses or benefits of drawing cartoons, and one of them was simply, it's a fun thing to do. And so today my purpose is just to share with you some of the types of cartoons that I draw, just for recreation or fun. This involves mainly just creating comic characters. Let me start out though with talking about different tools of cartoonists. The simplest and easiest way to take care of that is just with a number 2 drawing pencil on note paper or whatever. So with that in mind, let's look at some of the other tools of the trade. The Sharpie is the pen that I most often use on this show. Like that, see, a pretty bold line, and a character with the usual exaggerated nose and so on. A variation of that particular tool is this pen right here. Notice a thinner line, which actually allows you to work in more details. Now keep in mind, if you're having fun but want to be really cool about it, you could still use the pencil outline, of course. I'm skipping over that particular thing. Here's another pen. I bought it at a local store here in Conway. It's very similar to the Sharpie, but it has a little bit of variation sometimes in the width. So you have several tools, and when I started out, I pointed out to you that regular pencil works just fine, like this one right here. And of course, if you're using a pencil for the whole thing, then you don't have to worry about having your darker drawing tool come out all right. You can just kind of work around with this and pencil out the things that don't belong. So anyway, there are various other tools, of course, in cartooning. You take, for instance, this is a drawing tool that's kind of like watercolor. It looks like a pencil, doesn't it? But it's a gray. And a lot of cartoons and magazines that don't use color, apparently the cartoonist uses something like this to put in the gray shading, not only on things like a sweater or hair, but in some cases they may have might have a little comical mustache, which is a little beyond the 5 o'clock shadow, but you see what I'm talking about. Now, having talked about at least some of the tools, I'll drop that particular line of thought and do some cartoons that I haven't, as far as I know, have never done before. And I'm mostly going to use the pen that made these lines, and I'm going to draw various characters. And as I said, I haven't rehearsed this. What I like to do sometimes is to take a particular facial feature, like the nose, exaggerated of course, and another exaggeration, and same thing here, except they are different body parts or facial parts. And then just for the fun of it, I'll decide where to go next on all 3 of these. I'll make big eyes, may come back and alter that, and little bitty eyes like that, and maybe eyes with a what they call a unibrow right across, eyebrows that just go right across there. And then I'll come back to another part of the character's face. And in this case, have a little different. And this one with a firmer looking chin. And now back to character number one. I put glasses on him, and I think it's kind of funny when you have glasses where the stems don't really fit. Just like it's funny when the character you're drawing hasn't bothered to comb his hair in a while, at least since morning. So that's, now in this case, I think I'll have this to be a pleasant-looking cartoon lady with a kind of a fairly modern hairdo, and I've pretty well finished her up. Now this guy here, he looks like a fellow that you would be a little bit afraid of if you met him in a dark alley or something. So there you have a whole row of characters, and we're going to pause now for a short break, and then we'll do some more of these wild, memorable guys and gals.
Home security is now available through Conway Corp. It's an advanced solution backed by people you know and trust. Customize your system with motion detectors, sensors, light controls, and more, all managed from your wireless touchscreen or mobile phone. It's an easy way to protect the things that matter and the ones who matter most. It's safety for you, powered by Conway Corp.
Okay, we're back, and here I go. I like this particular pen. I like all the tools that I talked about before the break, but I like this one because it shows details, and you could get into a lot of things that, you know, wouldn't be easily done with those markers with the thicker lines and so forth. Say, for example, the hand. If I were using the big Sharpie or one of the other thick markers, drawing the fingers on the hand, even in a crude cartoon style, could kind of mess up. Of course, if you're following my advice, which I don't always follow, about using the pencil backdrop or outline, then you wouldn't have to worry about that so much anyway. Notice, of course, the contrast, the exaggerated big head as well as the big nose, and all sorts of exaggerations there. I think you've learned by now that cartoon characters are quite a ways separate from reality in most instances anyway. Now, I alluded to the tough character on the top row right before the break. It looked like a real tough guy, and this leads me to talk a little bit about stereotypes. I won't try to define that. I'll just kind of let you infer or conclude what it means. You've seen in animated cartoons and in other places a stereotype of what is supposedly a mad scientist. Now, sometimes this kind of character appears in movies and elsewhere, but you see it a lot in cartoons. And a typical scene is he's holding some kind of concoction that is going to change him into a vampire, or just going to do some other kind of terrible deed. And of course, there are a lot of ways to draw the mad scientist as a stereotype, but he usually has this kind of, shall we call it, fiendish expression on his face. Sometimes he's saying, hey, hey, you know, evil plot going on in that brain. Now, to offset the threat of mad scientists in cartoons and in other places, you have the hero, like Batman, but I'm not going to draw Batman. I'm just going to make up a kind of a cartoon hero. And you don't want to draw him looking goofy or anything, and yet you don't want to overdo the purity of mind and motive and all that. So I'm thinking maybe a cartoon hero, he might have a mask on like this, you know. He might have a sort of a comic, manly persona or character. And he no doubt will have a cape, and he may have some little short breeches, kind of like Superman or I think Batman. And oftentimes he has kind of a funny looking shoes, or maybe even boots. And here he is, I guess, flexing his muscles to let everybody know that super whatever is here to counter the evil deeds and plans of this dude over here. Other kinds of heroes are found in comic art, the more serious type as well as the kind that I draw. Let's take, for example, a hero cowboy. I may have to rely just on drawing the heads here. He comes riding into the scene and saves the damsel in distress from some rogue character. And he may look sort of like this fella here, you know. I won't draw the rest of him. At the end of the story, he gallops off into the sunset rather than settling down with the local citizens. Another stereotype kind of reminds you in a way of the mad scientist, but not quite in the same category. I don't see this term very much. It's not a compliment by any means, not supposed to be. An egghead, somebody who is really very smart and very much aware of it. If any of you know anybody that looks like this, please remember I'm just making this up as I go. And years ago there was a presidential campaign in which one of the candidates was perceived by some people as an egghead. And then to contrast with the egghead is, we might call this guy a simpleton. Now you and I know that you can't tell a book by its cover, and you can't really characterize a person accurately by the way he looks. But anyway, in cartoons, we try to do just that. Well, that's all the time we have. Remember, you can contact Mr. Forrest Easel at conwaycorp.com.